booth, third day at IDS 2023. What to say? Honestly, we couldn't be any happier of how this exhibition is going. We couldn't be any happier of seeing so many of you here to see the existing products and the brand new products that we are launching at this event. We have a great guest now. We are very happy and very honored to have our dear friend and partner, Dr. Alessio Franchina from Italy. Dr. Alessio Franchina is an international speaker for Shiny 3D. He just came back from a lecture last week, right, in North Africa, and we are honored to have him here for IDS, and many more speeches will come in the future. I will not waste any further time. I will pass the microphone directly to Dr. Franchina. Once again, thank you very much from all the Shiny 3D team.
Thank you, Riccardo, you too, for this very good invite. And I want to start this presentation talking about the intraoral scan, the Shiny intraoral scan I use every day to plan my cases. You know that between dentists, especially between dentists, there is always a challenge between something that is digital, that is new, and something that is analogic. Most of us are still analogic and don't like to change, but the change is everywhere if we think to our daily life. So in this chart you can see what's my personal way to work, starting from the planning of the case, and the CBCT and the intraoral scan are of course the most important part of our workflow. Then we are able to select if we are the main ruler of the flow, or if we want to collaborate with the dental technician, and we are able to plan the case, doing the implant planning, and if the case is combined with the dental lab, decide to accept the planning, design the guide, and then with the printers, 3D printers, print our guide directly in-house, or giving to the dental technician this opportunity. But in this kind of workflow, we need to have an order, because if you have not an order sequence, we cannot keep our goal. So what I think is that irrespective of the type of impression we decided to take, intraoral one or conventional one, we have to go in a digital way. So if we don't know after we take a conventional impression, our dental technician scan our case, and then he proceed in a digital way. And why using instead the intraoral scan? First of all, because time is very important. It's one of the main cost voice of our market, and we have to take in account of that. The second one is the patient compliance. Patients are really happy to use the intraoral scan because they can see what we do, and they also have no problem with alginate or silicone impressions. Another point is, and we get this aspect during COVID years, is the risk of spread of infections that is really limited because we use less materials. We don't mail anything. We just take the impression and then we send just files, and this is very important. The end of this process is the STL files production that we can send, or the dental technician can create directly in his dental laboratory, and then he can start the workflow. That means doing the CAD project, then doing the components with the CAM addition or subtraction, and then he is able to create our prosthesis, and then at the end we are ready to deliver to our patients the components the dental lab has created. About the scanner, this is the Scan 3 handpiece. Now we have the one without wires. That is, of course, better than the one I had till now. And the features are very similar. First of all, the ergonomic design. It's very easy to work with this handpiece into the mouth. We have one button to control the play of the camera, and then we also have a very important feature of this camera is the auto anti-focusing. That is very important because otherwise it's very easy that the scan became slow. In this case, we have a very fast scan. We have a final weight very low, only 240 grams. So it's very easy to be manipulated. And we have also to know that we have two different tips, and we have a field of view very wide. And we also have some tips for pediatric use, and also we have a deep field of view up to 22 millimeter. So this is very important to, for example, into implant cases where we have scan bodies that are a bit higher than teeth. Another very important point, it's not new because we just have seen in the previous years the AI function that helps you to take the impression also if you are alone, or if you are, for example, in this dental chair, because it's easy. The software trims out the tongue, the cheek, or everything is not recognized as gum or teeth. And this kind of devices improves the relationship between the dental technician, the clinic, the milling center, and other partners of this chain that is always becoming longer. This is an example of what I do when I visit a patient. My first examination starts with a scan of the upper and lower jaw. I do the arch registration that is needed in order to have the right accordance between upper and lower jaw. And this works like a classic intraoral camera because leave me free to show the patient what problem he can have, and this is very important also to enhance my communication with him. We can do, of course, also post-op iOS, for example, in cases like this for immediate loading, or for definitive cases when soft tissues are finally defined. There are some aspects we have to touch in this presentation: scan profiles, scan strategies, and scan defects. And about scan profiles, it's important to understand in order to have the better experience with the device. Because we have to know that we have 4 different possibilities here. I'm sorry, it's in Italian, but it's very intuitive to understand. And why I show you this picture? Because if I select, for example, the orthodontic scan, it's the software give me back this page with just 3 different scans. The reality is there are 2 scans and 1 cast registration. So what I will be able to do will be just the scan of the upper, the lower jaw, and the registration. So we have to select the right module in order to be faster and at the same time efficient. This is an example of how the software works. The scanner is very fast, it's very flow, and the software is very efficient to compensate our mistakes. This is an example of a simple orthodontic scan for example, just the hemi-arch. Another very interesting innovations, and I think that this one will become in the future very, very important, is the jaw motion module that help us just in the same scan, revealing the movements of the mandible, and then we have a file that we can put into Exocad, we or our dental technician, and it makes possible to have the exact occlusion of the patient. This is another example of the use that I do with this kind of device. If I have to, for example, remove these 4 teeth, but the set of the teeth is not perfect, I usually do a segmentation of the teeth, and then I move the teeth in order to explain to my patient what can happen. And this is the simplest way to get that patient and to have the approval of my treatment plan. Another case, very similar case. This is a much more complicated case because the bone has begun, and then I have to do a big bone reconstruction, but I have to explain to my patient what kind of prosthetic result I can obtain, and this is the way I get this patient mine, and the way how I communicate to my dental technician how to create the temporary bridge for my patient. When we do the scan, we have to know that if we want to go to guided surgery, for example, like this case, a simple case, but in the aesthetic area, I often use this kind of protocol because I like to go to manufacture a surgical guide, a very slim surgical guide, just to place my T3 Pro implant that is a very self-stabilizing implant. And then when I get my ideal torque value, I'm able to start the prosthetic procedure. That means take a scan and after a few hours deliver the crown. You can find something about this on Osticon Digital Implant channel. That is a digital channel you have on internet. And last but not least, it's possible just to duplicate the denture of the patient. For example, in this case, an overdenture case, so it's very easy to duplicating the denture. It's very easy to have a simple guide to orient our implant plane. And just talking about implants, if I select this option, I have on the right side, I have another another drop-down menu with two different menus. The first one is for the type of restoration. In this case, a screw retained restoration, and here you can see the scan of the temporary crown. It means that if we have the temporary crown, or if we have the teeth of the patient and we want to duplicate that shape, we can set this one in order to have a more additional scan to copy that shape. In this case, if we select no, we have 3 different scans and the registration of the jaw. So the first scan, it's very important to follow the right line, otherwise we will have some mistakes. So the first scan, it means the scan of the surgery, of the post-surgical area. So here you can see implants with healing abutments. The same in the lower jaw. The occlusal spots are not a casualty. I often use this trick in order to help my dental technician to verify occlusion. Then we do the registration of both arches, and then we have, after cutting this area, we have the scan of the scan bodies. And this is normal. If we select in this drop-down menu, it means that the software gives us the 4th scan option, and then it means that we can scan the provisionals of the patient or the teeth of the patients, like in this case. These 2 teeth are provisionals. So in this brief video, you can see how I worked. It's very easy. It's a very easy device. I suggest you to try after this presentation, because it's very impressive. There are some strategies to do the scan, but the software are increasing their power, and then the strategies are becoming less important over time. This is the way we do the scan. It's very important because the software frees everything we have scanned before, so there is not the possibility that something went in the wrong way, and then we have to scan the scan bodies. After that, we are scanning the lower jaw, and then the registration of arches. You should know that this camera has 2 different systems to reveal the shape of the implants, one based on the colors and one based on the laser measures. And this makes very fast the scanning process and very accurate, because with these 2 cameras, with these 2 systems, the scanning experience is much more easier and faster than with others. And this is the way how the registrations happen, very, very fast. It is possible to add more scans for registrations, like 3 in this case, or register the jaw movements. Another trick I suggest is to scan into the mouth, into the hands, the temporaries, because it's important to give to the lab also the shape of the subgingival area, and it's much more easier for the dental technician doing the right shape, having this kind of guide, just for both for implant supported restoration or also teeth supported restoration. It's very important to know where the edges have to be placed. This is the way how we open some holes to rescan the gingival area after, for example, the case has been to be finished in an immediate loading protocol, but it's the same way I use, for example, for the final restoration. So here you can see how the software guides you in the direct workflow before we get the soft tissue, the contour of the area, and then we scan the scan body. We have to remember we have two different scenarios. The first one when we do immediate loading, and the second one when we restore in a definitive way the patient. So we have to know what happened. The third possibility is to do the restoration, like for a teeth supported restoration. In this case, it's like the orthodontic module. We have two different scans, the upper, the lower, and the both registration, the jaw registration. So it's very easy. If we select about the drop-down menu or the provisional, we have the adjunct scan that we can do like I showed you before. So this is the case. The right cuspid is the element I have to treat. So I do the scan with the temporary, then I scan the abutment, then I scan the opposite jaw, the registration, and then scan the temporary crown in my hands. This is the simplest way to have the same shape, the same edge position, and a perfect crown. Here in the video, you can see how the scan happened. In this video, you see also some gray lines and some colored shape. This comes from the fact that we have two different cameras. So the colored one is the camera that builds the shape by the color, and the gray one by measuring the lines of the laser. We can also set our scanner to have a high definition, like in this case, and select just a single area to become eye defined. Then we scan we finalize the scan. This is a real-time scan, so there's nothing accelerated, so you can see how it works. The better you fill the gap, the better will be the scan, and then the most number of triangles we will have at the end of the scanning. And the dental technician will be very happy about it, because its work will be better, of course, than without it. Here we did the registration. You can see how nice was that, and then again I do some holes in order to scan again the pillar we have to use as post for our restoration. And this is our final result. that is, of course, enough to create a good final restoration. It is very important to follow the workflow because the software works, of course, better than if we go in a different way. Last but not least, there is another option that is this one that give us the opportunity that is always possible also with other modules to start something very interesting with our patient to create an experience. I mean that I have a communication system based on some windows where I can write something. I also have an AI system that reveal, for example, occlusion, orthodontic problem, caries, or tartarus. So give a report like this where something is added by me and something comes from the AI system. And at the end, I have this QR code. If you would scan this QR code in 1 minute, you will have the okay, you can scan it. I suppose in few minutes you will have the scan, the result of the scan with a 3D file that you can move. And for your patient, this would be interesting because you are giving him or her something that he can watch and he can show to friends or other patients. Of course, like for conventional impression, there are some rules. And one of the rules that I follow every day is to place some gingival cords in order to retract the soft tissue, because otherwise it's very difficult or impossible to manage the right gingival adaptation of the future crown. And scanning the temporaries, the results is often ideal. Of course, the experience of the technicians is important because they have to manage the position of our end line of our crowns. So using both informations, the one coming from the scan and the one coming from the scan of the temporary crown, they can have the final ideal adaptation. About scan strategies, it's very important to know if you try the scanner into your mouth, you can see that if you scan before the occlusal side, then the palatal side, and then you start scanning the buccal side without creating a connection between these different sides, you will have like two different walls. The one in the palatal side and the one in the buccal side. And this is a problem because the connection between these two layers is not easy. The software now is faster and it's really harder. But if we work and we use the software just a bit, just when it is necessary, it's better, and your scan experience will be faster. This is one of the studies I found very interesting because these colleagues matched together 4 different scans and 4 different scan strategies. And they obtained the best result with the technique number 2 with the scanner used. And this is very important. When you read something in the literature, you have to know that it depends from the company, it depends from the technology of that scan, to get the best result with the same technique. What I can tell you that the software has a wizard in the left corner of the screen that help you to understand how to scan, and this kind of scan technique, it's a bit time consuming. The shining one is a little bit faster. It's very important in the frontal area to go always from the buccal to palatal to the buccal to palatal and again, because you have to put together these two layers in the curved region. It's very important. Some other example of scan defects, because we have also scan defects. These images sometimes comes from my own practice, and sometimes like this comes from the laboratory where all the mistakes came up. And these are examples of what we don't have to see and we don't have to do. And it's important to take care of our abutments, natural abutments or soft tissues, because otherwise the digital impression will be, of course, bad, like in these cases. There are some problems when we have implants too close. In this case, with the shining 3D scanner, we will be able to create two different scan body sets, and it would help us because we could freeze one scan body and scan the other one, removing the previous scan body placed. And of course, we have to scan the arch with the healing abutment, but we have to remember that we have to place all the scan bodies over the implants if we want to know the position. This is a video that makes together my workflow that show you everything from the impression to the final restoration, to the temporary restoration, including the CAD project. So here is the scan. In this case, I used the orthodontic model to do the scan directly, the scan of the upper jaw with the scan abutment, because it is possible on Hexagon to remove the scan abutment from the model, so it's a possibility we also have. The problem is that the occlusion should include this scan body. Otherwise, the software, it is possible that the software open a bit the arches. Of course, it's always possible to correct this position, but it's more time consuming. So the best way is to use the implant module. But this is an interesting case because you can see how the workflow is and how easy it is to do this kind of restoration. This is the real speed of my job. So at the end of the scanning of the lower jaw, I can proceed with the registration of both arches, like this. In this case, I did the two different registration of both arches. And this is the third, like was suggested with this software version. Now the software version give you even two different scans. And the very interesting thing is that you have a perfect reading of the surfaces. And when you get into Exocad software, it's very easy to add the right library. The easiest is the better is, and then you can using this slider you can match the library above the scan you did. You have a color map that help you to get the best result, the best adaptation. And then there is the technical phase that provide you the final shape, the final subgingival shape of the crown, of the restoration, the adaptation to soft tissue, the adaptation to teeth majorly and distally, and of course the occlusal adaptation if it's needed. In the case of an immediate loading, you don't need to adapt anything to the occlusal area because you don't need it. It's not indicated. So it's very easy and it's very funny to do this kind of job also for our dental technician, because the devices, the tools we have are so impressive, so faster, and it's so easy to do this restoration. This protocol, I follow this protocol because I love to work to build my subgingival path directly after the surgery, because if I design in the right way this area, at the end of the healing, 4 months later, I will find the soft tissue perfectly designed. So this is my first choice when I have to do this kind of restoration, especially for the frontal area, for the aesthetic area, where my patient request is so high. So this is how the work flows. The end of this design is this, and this is what I have to do to come in my clinical site. If I want to do also some more changes, I'm able to do, like reshaping something, the height of a cuspid is possible, of course. And then I have the STL file ready to be printed or milled by my dental technician. So I'm able to send him this job or to leave him to develop this kind of job. I don't know what happened. Okay. And this is the final restoration after it has been milled. And now you can see how it appears into the mouth. This is some hours after the surgery. The soft tissue is just healing, and it's a flapless procedure, so it's very clean, very less invasive, and everything of the things I have described in this presentation you can find on my Osteocom channel. The name is Digital Implant channel. And on the left side, I think you can find also my link to my website, so it's easy to access and to stay in touch for any needs. If you want to have a free lesson from the channel, you have just to scan this QR code and giving your your details, your name, and your email, you will receive the final lesson. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.